This book is 11 years in the making. It's been a very painful book to write. All I have done is that I've given a truthful account of what I have seen within the judicial system. And it has taken the loss of the judiciary for Nigeria to become the useless place it has more or less become now. For anybody to be a citizen, for a society to have citizens, you must be found on the rule of law. It would mean that both the governed and the governors are equally bound by the law. It must mean that the judiciary is one that deals with people blindfolded. But in a situation where instead of us being ruled by law, even at the most elementary level, we're governed by the will of men, no matter how perfect those men might be, they remain men. And it simply means that for as long as we are ruled by the will of men, we're subject to their whims and caprices. The level of corruption that I witnessed in this case, the brazenness of it, is not suggestive of somebody who is coming to the rodeo for the first time. This is a well-practiced person. This is the norm for these persons. No matter how corrupt a judicial system might be, there are certain precepts and norms. It's like I want to count 1 to 3, and then I'm looking to skip 2. So I just say 1, 3. Where is the 2? So there should be some order, some processes by which you arrive at a particular decision. That is why the court have rules. But when you see the highest judicial body in the country flouting its own rules and acting in a manner that is suggestive of impunity, then you know that something is very abnormal in that situation. When people become so powerful that they don't even care or believe that they are subject to any law, the law does not apply to them. The brazen impunity by which they did what they did made it impossible for maybe somebody else might have been able to find peace and walk away and be telling the story when they sit amongst their friends and they are sharing beer and cognac. But I'm not interested in beer parlor talk.
Everyone, you just heard all that Dele Farotimi had to say. I mean, this is not a book that he came out and he just wrote it as he just was feeling like just writing something and just wrote it down. This is a book that took a lot of research, a lot of putting facts together, a lot of doing soul searching, a lot of tears, anguish, blood for Nigeria, a lot of carrying the pain, the burden of a country, of a justice system that has been subverted and has been turned into something, that is being used by a few people. The pain of seeing all of that, the burden that brings along. And from all that Mr. Dele Farotimi has said, you can see how indeed that the judiciary is part of the problems that we have in this Nigeria. And when they talk about justice denied, is justice delayed, is actually justice denied. And the way people do suffer, and it's almost, and it's the way it is, the Nigerian judiciary, they are available to the highest bidder. As long as you have money, you have connection, you have something that you can buy them with, they're ready to sell it to you at whatever price that you'll be able to afford or that they want, and then they subvert the justice, and it's at the whim and caprices of men and women, and not of the law or of system or of process. And that's a really major issue. Let's not forget that Dele Farotimi is still incarceration. He has been denied bail, and they're doing everything to put him, to continue to hold him back. This is not just about Dele Farotimi. This is about voices, people who have voices in Nigeria, people who seem to be a voice in our country are being attacked one way or the other. They're being, their voices are being shut down, they are being arrested, they are being maligned, they are doing all sorts of attack, whether it is verbal, whether it is online, whether it is physical, whether it is one of incarceration. These things are happening. I talked about this thing some months ago where I said, look, Nigeria's put the dots together. Because one of the things for me that I always do is that when things are happening, you look at why are this thing happening. Some things they look like unrelated, but if you are actually take a moment and pause and look, you will see that indeed that they are related. So they either want to discredit voices, arrest voices, those ones that they cannot discredit, they arrest them, you know, and sort of like put them so just get them out of the system and out of the way. Let's not forget the hand that we see, and what is going on, and we must continue to stand. We must continue to remember that as long as Dele Farotimi is in custody, is in prison, we all are in prison, and nobody is safe, nobody is free. And indeed we must stand up and ensure that these people do not get away with all the shenanigans that they want to get away with. It should not be something that we should allow to happen, to continue to go, and we must do everything that we can to resist this. There are protests that are already being planned. As much as possible, be part of those protests, whatever it is that you can do to amplify the message. Let the world understand what is going on in Nigeria. Let's put these people on the spotlight, put the judiciary on the spotlight, and they must know that this country belongs to every one of us, and the right thing is to be done. It has to be issue of rule of law. It's not rule of man. It's not the way some people feel that they would go on and get things done, but that it's supposed to be the way that is entrenched in the constitution and the laws of the land. Mr. Dele Farotimi hasn't said anything that people don't already know. Mr. Dele Farotimi hasn't said anything that a lot of other even people amongst the judiciary have spoken about. I mean, just recently, 2 days ago, the IG of police came out to talk about how corrupt the judiciary was and how things needed to be done about it. So that's the same thing that Mr. Dele Farotimi has come out to talk about, the corruption in the judiciary, that it seems as if it's something else. Yes, he specifically mentioned names. He was ready to mention names. Those names that have been mentioned must also go through the process of the law and do the needful according to what the laws of the land, and not to actually go out to oppress and take away people's human rights and hound some people along the way, and hound Mr. Dele Farotimi along the way. We must have a country where rule of law applies to everyone and nobody is above the rule of law. So let's keep the demands going on. Let's keep the momentum. Let's keep talking about it. Let it never be okay that Mr. Dele Farotimi is in prison. Let it never be okay. There's no how that can be okay in any way whatsoever, and we must insist and must continue to mention that it is not okay. And so don't allow it to ever be, even for a second, where you think it is normal for Mr. Dele Farotimi to be in prison. He was denied bail. He was abducted by the Nigerian police. He was taken from Lagos and taken to Ekiti State. These are people who are armed by our tax that we pay, by public funds, and yet they go after people. Their allegiance is always to what do you call it now, to the ruling party, to whoever is the head of the ruling party, and any other person who seem to wield either influence in any way whatsoever, and that shouldn't be acceptable. Thank you for watching.